Yo, yo, Feel Black, Creative Drive, back at it. Had the first listening party for the day the sun didn't shine. And I was overwhelmed by the love and support that was shown by some of my closest friends. If you couldn't make it due to circumstances that were gonna be here, Chuck, I send my condolences to you and your family. Shouts to everybody that pulled up. Milk, Cliff, Gibbs, Brian and Brandon Streeter, Young Steezy, Queen Tracy, Onyx and the crew, CT, Cameron, Bree, and Monet, Janice, my sister Crystal, my nephew Elliot, Jordan, my brother-in-law, Nolan came through, on the camera. Streets Mentor, of course, pulled up, He was instrumental in making this whole thing happen. Breeze pulled up. We go way back, My homie, the one and only, Dwayne, the Great Tate. Tony pulled up. My man Mashawn pulled up after a 12-hour shift. The homie Turk pulled up. I ain't seen Turk in a minute. This is a great vibe. It's a great vibe. Shouts out to N-Tone, of course. He produced the whole joint. He put his foot in it. Vic, Nashi, who played a very significant role in this event. Nashi and D1 made this event possible. Wasn't for Nashi and D1, my man Derrick Ross, wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to do this, man. Wasn't for E, I wouldn't even known the album was done. Wouldn't had a cameraman. He came through with the cameraman. If it wasn't for Milk, wouldn't have had a DJ. Milk killed it. Shout out to Cam. Came through, helped me get the crib together. It was just all love. All love. Barry, Barry pulled up, showed love. Oh, my man Eder came through, from the salsa classes, It was like a great experience, Milk homegirl, the one and only. It was just an overall great experience, man. One of the OGs in the North Carolina hip-hop community, A-Rob from Eargasm, came through. She always supported whatever we was doing since way back, Then just shout to everyone else that, just couldn't make it, That gave me well wishes, that gave me positive words, From T Walker to my homegirl Kat, of course my man Cheddar Chap, to some Ron Beatty, to others, my man Smokey Joe Mojo, Tupac, the ad engineer, you know, my man Chris Rankin, who, you know, a lot of our conversations shaped this album, which is even why I started doing these YouTube videos, was because of Chris. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Corey, because Corey started with me from back in the day, you know. It was just, man, it was just a great time, man. It was a great time. Oso pulled up. You know what I mean? Shout out to Oso. You know what I'm saying? It was a good night. It was a good night. You know, me and Derek talked about it, man. We talked about it for a while. And it ended up being better than we thought it would be. You know, I just left from pulling up on Streets Mentor, and the way he described it, he just kept saying, yo, it was love, it was love, it was love, you know. And it was love, and I just felt the love, you know what I mean? And I appreciate everybody for coming out, and I appreciate everyone else that reached out to me, you know what I'm saying, and just sent me words of encouragement and support throughout the whole process. You know, it was a grind, this journey making this album, man. This album has been different than any album I've made, as far as the creation of it, recording it, getting it done, and you know what it took to get it done. This album took more to get done than any other album. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of obstacles that we had to overcome to make this album. You know, I had a lot of help, a lot of support, you know, and I appreciate it all, you know. My sis came through, Crystal came through with the mac and cheese. That was fire, you know, and it was just, man, it was a moment. Oh, shout out to Hudson. Hudson pulled up, you know. It was a moment, you know what I mean? My favorite moment, it was two. It was when Nashi, you know, did his performance. And then it was when Tennessee Tuck played. Cause during the you know, one of Milk sets between the acts, the Streets was like, yo, Tennessee Tuck next, cause he the only one that had heard the album. And I was like, yeah. He said, yo, this shit about to go dumb. And Milk set that shit up so nice, yo. Like every time he did a set between the acts, you know, we played it in 5, you know what I'm saying? Four parts, you know what I'm saying? And every time before the set, he would play the music to lead up to what was playing next. So, man, when Tennessee Tuck dropped, it was crazy because everybody started vibing and dancing. And then everybody was like, yo, run that one back. So like for me, as an artist, that's a moment I'll never forget. You know, that's a moment I'll never forget right there. You know, that's one of them moments to where it's like, man, you know what I mean? And all I did was just talk about my life. I wrote that song on the way back from Nashville. You know, Tone sent me the beat when I was driving back. I wrote that shit on the way back. I came back from Lawrence's birthday party. You know what I'm saying? Definitely shout to Lawrence, cause like I went out there for his 40th birthday, And that it was a riot, you know what I mean? The whole weekend was so lit that I just had that energy on me, you know what I mean? And then even Lawrence would keep telling me, he was like, yo, he would talk about certain artists, and he'd be like, look, this artist got this artist doing that. You know what I mean? He would always say, oh, if they could do it better, you could definitely do it. You could definitely get a, you know what I mean, get a following and do this for a living. And then there was a time I was just talking about, like, you know, there's some goals I want to achieve and some things I want to do. And I was telling him about, you know, how I plan to achieve those things. And then he was like, yo, yeah, you could do that. Or you could just make a couple hits. And the way he said it so matter of factly, like, yo, dumbass, you could just make a couple hits. You do this. So it's like, that inspiration was crazy. You know what I'm saying? And the third moment, my top 3 moments, is actually my favorite moment of the night. My favorite moment of the night was when they unveiled the album cover. Because my brother made the album cover, James made the album cover, right? And nobody saw, I didn't see it. He showed it to Derek back in maybe May. It was May or June. But he showed it to Derek, so only Derek, Valeria, and one of his film school teachers has seen it. You know, Derek kept saying, yo, that shit hard, yo. He would keep asking me, have you seen it yet? Have you seen it yet? I was like, nah. So James knew the listening party was coming up. He finally sent it to me like a week prior. So when Nashi unveiled the fucking album cover and the reaction, that reaction was crazy. Hey, everybody stopped what they was doing and just started walking up to it, like, you know, like when you see a movie, it's like, it could be like, let's say it's like something unfamiliar pop up, like, say it's like it was wild. It was like everybody at the same time just started like walking towards it, and it just became a whole moment. It was like, we got it on film. We got it documented, which is one thing throughout the years we haven't done. We haven't documented things that we've done, you know what I mean? So it was just overall the experience was like exceptional. You know what I mean? Like, and I think back to it, like the whole night, nobody was on their phones. Everybody was in the moment, yo. It's like, you wouldn't know who knew who because everybody was just vibing. You know what I mean? And James and Sarah came through, and Chelsea. It was just lit, you know what I mean? Like, it was perfect. It was perfect. And I appreciate all y'all for coming through. This Saturday, we back at it. We in Jacksonville. We do the first listen in Jacksonville. We're gonna have 2. We'll have one from 12 to 4. Then we're gonna have one from 11 to 3. And we also, in between that gap, we sponsoring the wrestling event, Bojack wrestling event at Pumped Up Fitness. And we're gonna be doing that. So that's gonna be a dope day. You know, so if you in the Ville, pull up, hit me up. I'll send you the info. It's gonna be a good time. You know, the daytime listening party is gonna be more like just a listening session. We're gonna just chill, you know, play the album. Then at night, we're gonna turn up. It's gonna be a party. So once again, appreciate everybody who came through, everybody who helped, contributed, everybody who gave me well wishes, who inspired this album, who gave me talks, like Cheddar Chat, yo. When I told him I was about to work on the album, he was like, he just kind of broke things down and he was like, look, if this album about to sound like I think it's about to sound, you need to do this, that, this, and that. You know what I'm saying? And he just, you know what I mean? Just put me on. I mean, he set an expectation and a standard to me to where it's like, man, he already talking like this joint about to be something, so I gotta make something. You know. Yeah, big shouts, much love. Let's keep it going. Peace.